Is Qigong a panacea? That is going to be the topic of this episode of Qi Life. So first of all, what is a panacea? So a panacea is a remedy or a solution for any kind of problem. And so let's see, does Qigong fit the definition of a panacea? Well, in Qigong we work with our mind, our body, and our energy to help with all sorts of different issues. We bring balance to our system, and this can bring, generally develop our health and our well-being, but it can also be specifically used to remedy specific ailments, either through specific practices and exercises which can be helpful for those specific ailments or sicknesses, or even sometimes as a treatment where someone uses their skill with energy as a way to treat someone else and help them with whatever illness it is that they may have. If we look even more widely than that, through Qigong we gain a greater understanding of ourselves, of our relationships, of the world around us, and so in many ways it can help us with all sorts of other problems as well. And so on that basis, in many ways you could consider Qigong to be more of a panacea than many other things that people might talk about as a panacea, because often when people are talking about panaceas, while it can apply to all sorts of problems, often they're specifically referring to just specifically to health issues. But Qigong really does apply to health issues and all sorts of other issues in your life as well. So that sounds great, right? Qigong, it's a panacea. It can fix all your problems. So there's some truth to that, but we also have to be quite careful in how we think about that as well. Because there's a difference between something being helpful, something being useful, be something that can, be something that will assist us, and something just being a cure, like that's all we need, and it will fix everything. Because when people start to think in this way, this can lead to some magical thinking, really. They might have any sort of problem in their life and start to think, I'll just do some Qigong, that'll fix it. And clearly that's not really the way things work. Qigong can certainly help us in lots of different things, but we need to, for our own benefit, keep our perspective of things grounded in reality. And sometimes, often, it's useful and maybe even necessary that we also look at other things to also help us. You might want to do, for example, Qigong to lose weight, Qigong for weight loss. Can Qigong help with that? Yeah, it can. There's, a variety of different ways, just through the activity, through the way it can influence your organs and your energy flow, it can give you some assistance in that. But just doing that and eating a really bad diet and overall getting insufficient activity, results aren't going to be too good, are they? So we need to look at all of the different parts of our life that might be contributing to an issue, and really use all of the tools available to us in order to resolve it. And so that was something, like weight loss, but this can apply to issues, all sorts of health issues and other issues in our lives as well. Sometimes people, because again, Qigong has a history and even a current application to lots of different areas in our lives. Qigong is definitely applied to health, it's applied to high performance with martial arts, and it's also applied to, some people would consider it spirituality, others would consider it wisdom practices, where we understand our place in the universe and understand our interaction with the world around us. And people can kind of get into an idea of, oh well, you do Qigong and magically all your wider problems, not just your health problems, all the other problems in your life will just go away. And if you have other problems, somehow that means your Qigong is not good enough. Somehow you're failing in your practice of Qigong because maybe you have other issues in your life that you need to deal with. And that's really not helpful, and that's not how life works. There's a saying, famous saying, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. We still have the basic needs. We still have to deal with all of the nitty-gritty ins and outs of life. Just because we have something that gives us maybe a wider perspective, a more nuanced perspective, doesn't mean that we still just don't have to deal with some of the things that happen. And often there are lots of challenging things in our lives. It's just part of the path of life. I tend to be pretty open with people, with people in general, and also with the people who I teach my Qigong students when I have challenges in life. And this can be anything from, I have some particular old injury that I haven't fully managed to resolve because I'm not perfect yet, and that makes some things harder for me to do. There might be some things that I can't do quite the way physically that I'd like to, and that's where I'm at as an imperfect person. Or I might have some specific challenges in my life, some things that I'm having a hard time with. And so, not that I, air all my dirty laundry and tell people every problem that I have, but I'll be quite upfront and I'll say, hey, at the moment I'm having to deal with this and it's pretty hard. It's making it maybe difficult for me to do some of the things that I'd like to do. So not just for physical reasons, but other things in my life that I might be dealing with. And I tend to be open like that for a couple of different reasons. One of which is, it's just generally, I think, a better policy in life, to be honest. Let people know how things are so they can understand maybe a little bit of your perspective as well as their own about an interaction, or things that are going on. They can know, they can adjust their expectations accordingly. And it's also actually specifically to help people avoid becoming too magical in their thinking about Qigong, to help people to avoid getting some idea that because I practice Qigong and I've done it for quite a while, I'm quite knowledgeable, I have a fair degree of skill in some areas, that somehow that makes me not subject to all the same challenges, all the same issues as everyone else. Because the reality is we are. And there's, a lot of people really, they like the magical thinking. They want to find something that's not just beneficial, not just helpful, but something that's truly magic. And I think in some ways it's a way to abdicate responsibility for their own life. You can go, all these different things, just do that. An oversimplification. But life's more complex than that. And I don't think we do anyone any favors by oversimplifying, by overselling some particular thing. I think that's another reason some people, teachers or organizations will actively try to encourage this kind of magical thinking, because they kind of say, whatever your problem is, this is the solution, and so it gets people hooked in. But I don't think that really does anyone any favors, because it can then, well, it can make them over-reliant on an imperfect person and maybe even an imperfect practice, you know. And also it can lend to this magical thinking, which then can stop someone from taking the other actions in their life that they really need to take in order to be healthy and happy and fully successful. So there you go, some thoughts, some ramblings on whether Qigong is a panacea or not. In a context, I'd say yes, it is. It can be helpful. There are benefits, and for any kind of problem really, you know, the fundamental principle of working with our mind, our body, our energy, that affects everything. But we need to recognize that within its place. We need to not become magical in the way that we think about that. Recognize that our Qigong practice, yeah, it's going to be helpful. And in no way does that devalue our Qigong practice. It's going to be helpful, but we also need to be considering all those other things that might also be useful and beneficial to us. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the vlog. It's been a while, so I thought it was about time I made another one. Maybe there were some useful thoughts in here for you. And look, for myself and my life, Qigong has been hugely valuable and useful to my health, and also more and more to my understanding of the world around me as well. And there's just always more learning, more to discover that comes from my practice of Qigong. So I hope, if anything, this encourages you even more to continue with your Qigong practice if you already practice Qigong, or if you don't practice Qigong, maybe to look into it and maybe to give it a try, but to do so in a very grounded, realistic, positive way. If you have enjoyed the vlog, please like, comment, subscribe, share, all those good things. I hope to make another one before too long, and I'll see you then.